you hate the thought of working past 55 or 60? Do you hate not being able to live the life you deserve today? Do you hate not knowing what your financial future looks like? It's time to stop doing what you hate. Here's your host, Mr. Harold Green.
Hello, everybody. This is Harold Green, and it is time to stop doing what you hate. I hope you're having a great day, and I hope your week has been going fine and fabulous. For myself, I've suffered a huge loss. Last week, Friday, we were notified that my wife's father passed away in Japan, and it's been a difficult week. And so we were able to get her a ticket kind of like at the last minute. It took about 3 hours to find a decent ticket. And so she's been there now for about a week, helping with the preparations and, helping her mom go through the grieving process. And I was going to go, but the restrictions in Japan, the travel restrictions are simply amazing. They have a rule where you can only stay within your state for the most part. So if you live in Florida and, you border Alabama and Georgia, you can't go to either one of those states, and you kind of have to stay in your territory. And you can travel freely within your state, but you can't go outside. It is not recommended unless it's an absolute emergency. So it's been really difficult to not be there with her to grieve the loss of her dad. And he was a really good person. So extremely smart, extremely intelligent. He owned a couple of different companies at the same time. Just a phenomenal man in the community. And the first time I met him was when I was 19 years old. And I went to their house. I think I was 19. I went to their house and I asked him if I could marry his daughter. And he just had this blank look on his face, and we started watching baseball and eating peanuts and had a decent conversation as best I could with the Japanese that I knew. And his response to my question was, I'll think about it, which in Japanese means no. So, my wife ended up, after some time, we went through the process anyway. We decided to get married. And, I could understand his thoughts and his feelings at the time. Here's this 19-year-old guy in the Navy, doesn't know anything, just fresh out of high school, wants to get married. What does this kid know about anything? And he had another daughter, which was the same age as me, and she was in college. And so you can just kind of imagine, his thoughts on that. This kid can't even figure out his way around the street or the block, and he wants to marry my daughter. Like, no way. And so my wife ran away, and we got married. And, I had a lot of amending fences to do. So worked really hard, learned how to write Japanese. I began communicating with my mother-in-law via letters, and, just letting her know that, it was not, just me getting married to their daughter was not a waste, and I wasn't going to make them regret it. But we had a lot of tough times, and we never really asked for their help on anything for the most part. And we just worked really hard. And then over the years of me being able to go back to Japan and spend time with him, I got to learn a lot from him, and I became really close to him. And he began to share a lot of things with me about business and how to, kind of how to think as a man and how to see life. And I really took a lot of that to heart. And one of the biggest things he said was always take care of your clients and, your employees. Always take care of people, because it's the most important thing. People are the most important thing, and never forget that. And so I took that to heart, and I implement a lot of those ideas and strategies in my business today. So my father-in-law, he will greatly be missed. And so I'm just going to dedicate the show to him and his memory and all of the things that he meant to me. And so let's get into the show. The title is Buy Low, Sell High. That's a strategy in the market. Buy low, sell high. And so because we're going to be talking about investments, I got to give you the little disclosure here. All investments, including real estate, are speculative in nature and involve substantial risk of loss. I encourage my investors to invest carefully. I also encourage investors to get personal advice from their own professional investment advisor and to make independent investigations before acting on information that we publish. And so as of today's show, the market has been going absolutely haywire. And a lot of people, they don't know how to make heads and tails out of it. But I want to talk to you about an investment strategy of buy low and sell high, and how important it is to not fall in love with any particular type of stock or equity or whatever it might be. But you definitely want to make sure that you have a well thought out financial plan, because there are going to be moves that you need to make, because we are headed for some very turbulent times in our economy. Congress is looking at passing a 1.9 trillion as of today's show, and by the time you hear this, they probably will have passed it. And there are some real legitimate concerns and real legitimate fears about the rise of inflation, and how pumping that kind of money into the economy can just derail things. We're looking at interest rates staying low for a long period of time, but there's some very disturbing signs out there in the market. Trading volume is up, volatility is up, the rotation is on once again. And it seems like we're constantly in some kind of rotation from one sector to the other, from growth to energy to commodities to materials to the beaten down stocks and things of that nature. So let's get into it and talk a little bit about some ideas that you can put into place in regards to buying low and selling high. Now, buying low and selling high is just simply the strategy of buying stocks when they're low and then selling them when they are high. Now, here's an interesting thing you're going to have to keep in mind. This strategy works well in a portfolio that has either a Roth IRA or some sort of traditional IRA, or in a 401k with a brokerage link. Why is that? Because when you buy low and you sell high, there are some tax consequences if you are holding a portfolio in a brokerage account that is subjected to capital gains. However, when you are in a traditional IRA or a Roth IRA or some sort of 401k, that you don't have to pay taxes when you buy and sell or whatnot, or when you sell, after you have some pretty good growth appreciation in that portfolio. So I want to talk a little bit about some stocks out there that may work for you. I know that I'm putting a lot of these things in my clients' portfolios, and the long term and the intermediate portfolios. For example, I think that some of the equities that would work really well for you buying on the dip would be Apple. And here's where I'm going with this. Fundamentals be damn right now for the most part. Excuse my French, but people are just not looking at fundamentals at all when they are trading. Now, institutional investors are still somewhat looking at the fundamentals, but when you have people buying Bitcoin by the gazillions of dollars, there is no fundamental to that. They're looking at some sort of long-term situation where they believe cryptocurrency is going to be the way to go. Now, I am not holding any cryptocurrency in my client's portfolio at all. I'm only holding companies that deal with cryptocurrency in a transactional base for the most part. But we're not holding it. I'm evaluating it. I'm watching it. And there's a few different stocks, I think, or ETFs or whatever that are tied to Bitcoin and cryptos that I might add into my client's portfolio over the long term. But some of the stocks that you definitely want to look at holding in your portfolio and buying massive amounts on the dip if you can afford to would be a stock like Apple. Over the last 10 to 15 years, Apple has done phenomenally well. They've had one year where they lost 60%. But here's what I'm saying. If you don't need that money, that's a good idea. If it's money that you're going to need in the next year or two, that's not something you want to be doing with that money. These are long-term holdings. Other stocks would be like maybe a Microsoft, maybe an Amazon, a Tesla, and certain amounts of it, Nvidia. Those are stocks to buy on the dips because their prices are they're just going to continue to climb, and they're just going to continue to increase. I don't see a 30 or 40% pullback in technology stocks. I don't see that. Could it happen? Yes. There are no guarantees that it won't. But from a fundamental perspective, there's nothing in the fundamental charts and the numbers that I've looked at that would suggest that these stocks are prime for a 30% pullback. Maybe a 5 to 10% pullback, maybe even 15, but I don't see anything more than that. Then there's other companies out there, Google, that's technology. But then I want to probably get into some companies that you can buy on pullbacks that aren't growth, and that would be like a Shake Shack. Again, you got to do your research and see if that makes sense. Some other interesting stocks that I'm looking at would be like SeaWorld Entertainment. That stock has kind of been on fire since last year. They were down at about $9.64 a share. Now they're up at about 47 cents a share, and as of today's show, they're up $5.90 a share. So this stock, it's SeaWorld is in Florida, and one of the interesting things that I've been looking at is companies that are based in states that didn't shut down for the most part. These are some interesting holdings that you want to look into for the future, because it gives you an indication of how different states are ran. Companies or states that went through the coronavirus with massive lockdowns, these companies have not, done too well per se. But when you look at states where the economy is open and they're flourishing, these companies have done phenomenally well in these states. And also there's lower taxes and less regulation. And so I'm looking at adding more stocks into my companies or my clients' portfolios that are home based in states with low regulation, because it's just going to add to their profitability. And I think that's something that's smart to do. Some other stocks to buy on pullbacks, I think, would be the hotel industry. I think they're going to do phenomenally well when people get back out and start traveling again. And then some other stocks are going to be the energy sector. You can buy some of those on pullbacks, but this is going to be a short-term play. I would probably say about 6 months or so, and nothing super longer than that. But you're going to have to do your due diligence on that, do your research, and then go from there. Another one of my favorites would be like Dave & Buster's. I have my reasons for them, and I've added them in our portfolios, and I think they're going to do phenomenally well. Some stocks that I probably just won't touch right now would be like a GameStop. I'm not buying those at all. They're just extremely volatile, and I'll just kind of leave it at that. So AMC, I think they're going to be good. I think they're going to make a strong comeback in the future. If you want to add some of that to your portfolio, again, you're going to have to run your numbers, build your portfolios out. You're going to have to back test them, and then just kind of see how they're doing, and then also understand your game plan. So are you buying low and selling high short term, or are you doing it for basically long term? So that's something to kind of think about. So, and also the type of portfolio that you have, whether it's in a traditional IRA or a brokerage account. Some others to consider would be like the biotech industry, maybe buying some of those on the pullback. Another stock that people are talking about a lot is Moderna, and they're having their days. They have the good days, they have their bad days, but once the vaccine is over with, I think Moderna is also working on a lot of other stuff behind the scenes that not too many people are aware of unless you're doing your research. And so basically for me, my biggest mistake was I bought low for a lot of stuff, and I had humongous run-ups of about 160%. But one of my biggest concerns was the taxes. So, if I sold off $100,000 or $200,000 worth of stock, I would be paying taxes on that at my regular income tax rate, which, is going to go up this year because of my income is, going up. So anything I make in the stock market, that's going to go up. It's going to cause my income to go up. And so I was a little bit afraid of having to pay 30, 40% or whatever it might be in taxes on that money. But here's the point. It's money that I didn't have to work for. And so it's, I had to work for it a little bit because I had to make the investment choices, but I don't want to say it's free money, but it's money that I didn't have to work too hard for. And so I shouldn't be hemming and hawing over paying, a few $1,000s or whatever it might be in taxes. And so if you're out there and that's something that you're going through right now, just kind of think about that. And if I'm your investment advisor and you don't mind if I sell off and then you have to take a little tax hit to rotate and buy better stocks, we can definitely do that. Feel free to get in contact with me. And so today's show, buy low, sell high, just want to give you guys a little bit of an idea how to execute that. And don't be afraid when you see the market going crazy, because when you see a lot of red, that's the time to take your powder, put it in your gun, and start to fire away, and start picking up some of these stocks that are poised for extremely potential profitable growth seasons moving forward. And so that's pretty much what I wanted to share with you guys today. So until next time, everybody, 1, 2, 3, let's get it.
This is the podcastfactory.com.